Welcome back. Hope everybody had a good week. It is Friday, July 10th. Back at it again. Another episode of Insurance Isn't Boring with Jose Martinez, otherwise known as Smokin' Joe. We're going to talk about a few different things: building, production, growing, building a base shop, and everything in between. But Joe, how's your week going, man?
Dude, we
How's
are
your Friday
rocking and
so far?
rolling. We are rocking and rolling. It's been a
I
good
feel
week.
you. Did you feel like there was any lag time getting back from vacation, or was it just a smooth transition? Because we also had a holiday right after the very next weekend, which kind of disrupts things a little bit. Did you notice that at all, or doesn't
Uh,
affect you?
it always affects us, right? Like it's never smooth. It's never smooth. And we've just gotten really good at recognizing we're being affected, and we got to do a little bit more.
Damn right. That's a good word right there. I had a week where I got smacked around a little bit, bro. We want to talk about street cred. Well, I wish I was putting up 15, 20K a week every single week, but I had a little bit of a flop. I'm at like 3,300 for the week so far. Two sales, y'all. I'm just keeping it real. It was the week of no shows and people wanting to follow up, but the follow up is just a delayed no. And the cherry on top, Joe, was I doubled down on leads.
Always that way.
I I doubled down on leads. Like I didn't stop taking leads. I took double. I dropped two bands on leads, and it's a pipeline. Like I'll make it back, but sometimes it be like that. How'd your week shape up, man?
Well, you're beating me by 100. I'm at 32. But it's always like that. I ended up last week when we talked, right? I ended up with 10,200.
Yep, yep. One and
So
two,
that
baby, on the week for the cook
yeah.
group.
And but this week, dude, I just been getting beat up. So, but hey, just like you said, so I doubled down midweek, and today I got another 10 appointments.
Well,
So
there you go. Well, there you
we
go.
ain't going down without a fight.
Heck no, heck no. I mean, you could treat today like a Monday if you really want to. I'm hosting a dial team this afternoon from 5 to 6. Signed
There
up
you
for
go.
that. Going to be calling some leads and booking a couple for Saturday. But Joe, one of the things Jimmy wanted us to dig into this, maybe we should start with this. Like we'll talk about building and what things look like now and how to do both effectively. But when you're brand new, let's rewind the clock back here. You just got licensed, like you're in your first 6 months. Talk about the early days, man. What was it like? How's it different now? I mean, obviously we're virtual, but what was that experience like as a new agent? Because we've been with the same IMO also, which is an important detail too.
Yeah, in fact, as I do interviews and bring people on, and I tell them, hey, I've been with the same company for about 8, 9 years going on now,
Yep.
and they're like, you should say that more often.
Yeah, I
You don't
said
know
it
how
today,
many of
and
us bounce around.
dude, the first thing they said when I had an interview this morning, it said the same thing. Been with Symmetry for 8 years. She said, "Whoa, really?" But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, first, God, it was the first 3 months were, I don't want to say brutal, but they were definitely very intense work. I did come into this industry, I want to say humble, as in, hey, I've never done this before. I've owned businesses before, and I led teams, and we managed and stuff like that, but never did the actual sit down sale, right? And go through a presentation and get a yes for a client. So the biggest thing I had to learn was I want how do I get reps, right? And I remember Mark and Chris both told me like, hey, you just need to sit with 12 to 15 families every week.
it's crazy how that messaging has not changed either in 8 years.
And so that's what I kept in front of me. It was hard. But what was hard, right? Like just a perspective, right? I had to dial from the very beginning. I've always had to dial 1,200, 1,500 dials a week. Like I've never been able to run away from that. That's why I'm jealous of folks like you. Y'all can come in here and y'all have way more talent than me. And that's where I love to say, I know no, everyone probably hates when I say it or don't believe when I say it, that I suck at this business, right? I suck at production and I suck at building, but I truly do. Now, the amazing part in sales and in this industry is you can go out, work your problem, and get whatever you want out of it. And so that's what I did. I came in my first month, every single week, 1,200, 1,500 dials. My first lead investment was $178 or $187. Wrote a policy, Wasn't issued right till about a week and a half later. But I knew $700 were coming. And so I invested in another batch of leads, same thing. I wrote another two applications. I ended up the month one with about $4,600 in deposits.
That's a good month one.
I was excited. I needed a clear 44 with all my bills. I was like, I just need 40. I need 4,400, and that'll pay all my bills, and at least I'm in business. And so cleared 46. Second month, I think I made a right under 6,000. Same thing, just a lot of sits, a lot of learning experience, and that's all I kept in front of me. 12 to 15 sits. Here's the thing about consistency, right? I never hit it. I almost never hit it my first 6 months. I was probably averaging 6 to 10 sits a week.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll touch on this in a little bit on consistency, but that's what I fought for. And so month two, again, a little under 6 grand. Month three, right under $8,000. Month four, I made 15. And then I want to say by month six, I had cleared my first 20 grand, and I never looked back from
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy in your first 6 months.
yeah, month six I made 20 grand. And so I ended up doing in my first 9 months, right? Because I started in April. So my first 9 months I ended up December with 110,000 in deposits. And that was my goal. I had to plan. I was making 100 grand at the restaurant, and I just needed to make that. And
Yeah.
so I was super excited that I ended up making 110 in 9 months. And then my first full year in 2019, I made a little under 250,000 in deposits. And dude, I've never looked back from there. After month six, I don't think there's ever been a month that I've made less than 20 grand in insurance. Crazy.
So you had, it sounds like, I would say, a smooth start, but not for a lack of brute force, because so few agents are not willing to put in 1,100 dials, 1,200 dials back to back to back. Like, that was, you were doing it 6 days a week minimum, sometimes seven. I saw you writing apps on
Back
Sundays.
then was 7 days a week for
Yeah,
sure, for at least, I mean, that first 9 months, I mean, it was 9 months of I was willing to work 7 days a week. I wasn't going
yeah,
to fail.
yeah. And on top of that, you were living in Arizona and you were driving to California and Nevada, and I'm pretty sure Texas. Sometimes in the same week you were doing that to make it happen. And we could talk about like some of the things that you did in 2018 versus 2019, because you freaking doubled your income, and some of that was you were better. Some of it was you were getting different leads, and you started writing more advanced market products and getting a little bit of a team. Did you start building day one, like as a brand new agent, like you were bought into that? Or did you come in with the mindset of, I'm going to figure this thing out first and see if it works before I start telling people about it?
I hate this question, but because I love the answer. And that's because I came in wanting to build. I mean, right, coming from owning a business, my plan here was I wanted to own an agency. So I came in building from day one. Um, it just was not, again, it was not, it sounds smooth, right? I know 110 and 250 in your first, 9 months and 12 months or full year sound great, but it was, I don't want to say horrible. It was just a lot of learning lessons. I was just willing to go through it. A lot of, I hope this works. Who can I ask for help? Again, I will say I came in super humble. I was excited about, Symmetry has leaderboards every single week. And what I was excited about is I was watching people win at a very high level every Wednesday, right? Like when we got on a national call and we see that leaderboard, it was like, I'm coming, right? Like, I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I'm coming. And, it was just, again, even some of those weeks were 2,000 dials. It was whatever it took. It was whatever it took. I came in, right? Sandra was pregnant. We had 3 kids, house payment, cars. And so, again, I came in knowing that there's too many people winning, right? Like, it's just insurance at the end of the day. This is not a special career, right? Like, it's people sell insurance. You just got to sit with enough folks. So I love that Symmetry had the path, right? Like, we had It all mapped out. You make dials, you sit with families, you put coverage in place, you're going to get paid. And so that's all. It was head down. I knew and if people think this is hard, man, I wish they would really go start a real business because that's really hard. I mean, I try to open,
Hmm.
or I opened a donut shop, and, it took us, we were behind 12 months because of construction, because of, building code, licensing from the state, all kinds of stuff held us back. And guess what? When you go open a real business, you're just pumping money in, and there is nothing coming out,
Hmm.
right? So we were supposed to open in 6 months, and it took us 18 months total, right? So we
Mm.
were probably vested about 170,000 in that, and we didn't see a penny, right? Like that's what a real business has to figure out. And
Yep.
here you can turn profit again. I turned profit my first month in 4 weeks to be able to say you got a license, you started a new business, and you profited net, right? After, and then we don't have business costs. We have lead investment,
That's it.
and after lead investment, I cleared $4,600. Like there is no greater business out there. Like I have seen and done many things, car lots. Like it cost me $480,000 to put cars on a lot before you can sell. Right? Like what are we talking about when it comes to hard?
Yeah.
And that's why, man, I made a video the other day, and I don't know if you've seen it, where I talk about the two words I hate in this business is I got to figure out or overcome, and they don't exist in this industry. They really don't.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it is rare when you have to figure out something or overcome. Because one, the reason you choose an IMO, and one especially like Symmetries, because they've already figured it out. There's a path. You follow the script. You make the dials. You got the leads. You got the carriers. And then to overcome what? Like, unless you're overcoming the fact that you don't have a laptop or a cell phone right now, which just about everyone does, there is nothing to overcome other than you just need to get to work.
Right. That was. I think the first real obstacle for me was realizing what it took, because I think I came into this with like overly ambitious or unrealistic expectations. Like I think I thought it was going to be easier than it was, but then once I figured it out, because unlike you, Joe, I did not come into this business humble. I came in with an ego. I thought it looked easy, and because of that, made several mistakes that probably held me up by about 90 days. Things like not following a script, not plugging into training calls, not reaching out and asking for help. Also being just like inconsistent with a lead investment, and also not investing enough. Like I think I came into this with the mindset of I hope I don't lose versus the mindset of how can I win. And when you start like that, I was investing like $50 a week in leads, and I was getting the cheapest ones, which are the most challenging, and you need a ton of them. And then I also did not make 2,000 dials in a week, or even 1,000. I think the most dials I've ever made in a week is like 800, maybe 900. But I'll never forget my first appointment, man. It was about a 45-minute drive away from my house, and I'm 21 years old. I don't know. This is my first one, and it was not with a ride along. So my upline wasn't with me. Called him beforehand, called him during twice, and then called him after. But I roll up to this house, and it's just this dilapidated trailer out in the country of Williamsburg, Virginia. So like nothing but trees around. The grass is knee high. There's a above ground pool that's like falling apart in the front yard. The water's green. There's a couch on the porch. And I get to the house, and the lady like peeks out. She had forgotten about me. And she was like, "You got to come back another day." And so, knowing, like looking back on it now, I would have found a way in the house, but I left. Called her back, rescheduled, had to come back a couple days later. She let me in the door that time. She tried to let me to just sit on the couch on the front porch, but she let me in, get to the kitchen table. And dude, the house was like destroyed. Like the floor's sinking in. There's cockroaches. They had smoked in the house, and it was just a mess. And I had to bring a paper app, bro. So
Good old first paper app.
the paper app, man. So I bring in this like handbag that I don't even want to set on the floor because it's so gross in there. And I'm calling Grant because I'm like, do I check EFT or direct? Like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. But I get that app, get it submitted, gets approved, and it's a $25 a month accidental policy with Mutual of Omaha.
Get it.
And never look back, man. My first year was similar. The first 3 months were like you said, brutal. The biggest month I ever had was $2,100 in premium, like 3 policies. And everything changed for me when I went to an event, man. I went to my first conference. It was in 2018 at the Gaylord Convention Center in DC. 4,000 agents in person. First time I think I met you in person, met Val, met Chris, met Edward. And my takeaway was next time I come to one of these, I'm going to get on stage. That was my takeaway. And like undid 3 months worth of learning and then came out of it. The very next month I wrote 17 grand part-time and killed it after that.
Can you speak to, because I remember that conversation, you came up to me and you you asked me, like, how am I writing all this business? And I don't know if you remember this, but you're like, when do you have me time?
I do
And I was
remember
like,
that.
well, right now we don't have me time, buddy. But I mean, can you speak to that? Because so many
Yeah.
agents have, I think that's, especially now that we're virtual, I think it's really easy to put me time in balance, right? And I mean, again, I never had that thought, but I know most folks think, right? Like, hey, I need some me time, and because they do, right? I'm a workaholic. It is what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But folks
Some
need
days I
me
feel like
time,
that. Yeah.
and I mean, what can you tell a new agent right now that helps you transition through that? Because, dude, it's amazing. You asked that question. Obviously, you went to conference and you learned a bunch of stuff, but I mean, you took off from there, and it's been amazing watching you do that.
Yeah. I think since conference, I've sold over $2 million in insurance on my own pen. It might even be close to 3 at this point. We'll see. But it was, I think I came into this and realized the potential of what could be built, what you could make. And it really just opened my eyes to the opportunity that I had found at the age that I was. Because I get to conference and I see these people who've already, at the time that I'm meeting them, they've been putting in 10, 15 years into the insurance space, and they're doing video game numbers. Like I'll never forget the first time I saw the national leaderboards for the year at the Symmetry National Conference, and Danny Young's team was doing 15 million a year, and Marshall's was doing 35 million a year, and Edward was doing over 30 million a year. And it was like, I could do this. And so I think I just had to come to grips with, like, yes, I have control over my schedule. Yes, I could take total advantage of that. And at the time I was really into ultimate frisbee. Now I'm really into golf. And so my me time was at the time that I wanted to take me time, Joe, was prime time for dialing and running appointments. And so I had to make some sacrifices and say no to some stuff, and had to cut back on some things. I had to stop talking to certain people. Like when I first joined Symmetry, I was surrounded by people who thought what I was doing was crazy, and they thought it was crazy enough to tell me about it, and that I was I was being scammed, and this is not going to work, and what are you doing? Like, just a lot of negativity. And then I also had to just commit to working really hard, but it was a different kind of work. Like the work I was used to was like manual labor. You know what I mean? Like my resume is like landscaping, car detailing, and working as a groundskeeper at a school. Like that was my resume. And I had to learn a whole new skill set. The other challenge that I dealt with as a young person is I was talking to people who were old enough to be my parents and grandparents, and we're talking about death and money. And that was just like a different type of obstacle I had to overcome. But yeah, I started building day one, but slowly. I was also, this is interesting. I was hired by a good buddy of mine, Grant, and we worked in the call center together, went to the same school together, and he made a list of 10 people after he talked to Chris Cook. Like, he found out about Symmetry, started building before he got licensed. We all got into licensing at the same time, and I was number 10 on that list. The last person he thought of, and I even failed my exam the first time I took it, Joe. Had to go back and take it a second time. And so it was learning how to just be disciplined and hold myself to a standard when nobody was making me do it. That was also the challenge because I had always had a boss before, you know, hey, you don't want to work today? Well, if you don't come in, we're going to have to find somebody else, you know? But yeah, it's fun to remember the early days too, because the challenges we were dealing with just don't really apply anymore, you know? Like I had to bring a second shirt with me when I would run appointments because sometimes you go up in a smoker's house and you got to change and you got 6 more appointments. Like,
Yeah.
you have any fun in-person stories? Any like weird client experiences? Did you go to
I
any
mean,
like
some of the
hoarder
weird ones I
houses?
can't say because there was some random nasty stuff. Um,
Oh man.
but man, it was, and we'll even bring it back to the question, right? Was I building from the beginning? I was, and back then was asking somebody to go into somebody else's house, drive a few hours, right, and build a team that way. I don't know how I was building a team that way now that I say it out loud, but
I
right,
know,
like we were
right?
asking females to go into right, drive down the boondocks and go into somebody's house and right, we even had systems like, hey, call me before the appointment, call me after the appointment, right? Make
Yep.
sure to send
Yep.
me a text if you're 30 minutes in the appointment. I just want to make sure you're safe. And
Yeah.
now that we're virtual, it's completely different. But you
I'm
know,
so glad we don't have to
building
deal with
those.
that anymore. I don't miss it, dude.
Oh, I don't either. But building those first 6 months and that first 9 month period was, I mean, again, even more humbling. If I thought I came in humbled, the problem was I came in humbled and I found success. So I was writing a ton of business, right? I think so month 3, I was writing over 30 grand already. And the problem with that was I wanted everybody to go my path. And so as I was bringing on agents, I was like, just do this, just do this, just do this. And being a horrible leader at that time, I came from
Yeah.
management. So let me even explain right there. Like, you could not be a horrible leader. I'm like, no, I was a horrible leader, but in the leader perspective, as I was a manager, right? I
Yeah.
was like, it felt like I was hiring employees and saying, hey, this is what you're supposed to do because this is what I do, right? Because that's how it works in the corporate world, right? Like
Yep.
this is the amount of work you should do to, right, for the business to move forward. And so that's what I expected out of everyone. $1,000, $2,000 a week, right? Go grind it out. And what I was lacking was understanding that this business provides whatever you want it to provide for you as a person. And
Yeah.
so I wasn't thinking of the part timer. I wasn't thinking of someone that hadn't made 100 grand a year, right? I was just like, hey, this works for me, and you should do the exact same thing. And that's not a great way of leading, right? Because I'm not trying. I was not asking them what they wanted to get out of this to help them do that. So I did that for 3 years, right? So
Hmm.
I started in 2018. 2020, I turned around and I had 0 agents. And this is
Yeah.
after investing. I mean, I'm 2.5 years in. I was investing $5,000, $6,000 a month in recruiting sometimes.
That's
And
nuts.
to turn around 2.5 years later with 0 agents, like nobody was producing
Mm.
January 2020. It was very humbling. Um,
Yeah.
and so that's why I always say I hate and I love that question because everyone's like, well, when did you start building? Everyone thinks I started in 2020. I'm like, no, that's when I pulled my head out of my, and said, hey, I'm the problem
Yeah.
because it was so easy to compare everyone to ourselves, right? It was so easy for me to say, well, I'm doing this, you should do that. And anything outside of that, you're just complaining about putting in work. And it's just so hard to learn these things, especially when you're finding success. I almost,
Yeah.
if you're struggling, it's almost easier to build because you're
Hmm.
learning with them, right?
Yeah. That's a
Versus,
really good point.
right? Because you're like, well, we're going to go figure this out together. That's an easier path, right? Because if you look at leadership, right, it's like, I'll show you how to do it. We'll do it together, and then, right, I'll watch you do it. And so when you're winning already at a high level, it's hard to watch people in that path because for us it's so easy, or for whoever you are, it's so easy to say like they're not doing what they're supposed to do, right? But everyone's different, and we're not looking for a whole bunch of Joes. We're looking for a whole bunch of people that want to find success at their level.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
dude,
I
that
made the
changed
same
everything.
mistake too. Yeah, dude. It looks like it, and what's your team doing now? So fast forward 6 years, you said you came into 2020 with just you, and you're on pace to do what? How much this year?
7, 8 million.
Yeah, it's and the people that got you to agency owner the first time, are those the same agents that got you to the top contract?
I mean, no, most of them are gone, right? The few that were doing the right things, right? Jeffrey Miller was part of our AO run.
He took off
My
quick too,
brother.
but yeah,
But other than that, like agents inside of those legs, right? Like, I mean, we've all lost them. It's this industry's tough, right?
it
And
is.
here's what I've learned, and you know what? That's why I love that question, right? Like the people that get you to a certain point or go with you to a certain point, right? Usually don't go. But here's the thing, like they're part of a season, and even the agents and the people that were in those seasons, it was cool watching them get what they needed or the lessons to learn, right? Like I watched people find out they don't want to be in business. I watched I watched people find out that this is right, that sales is cool, but maybe insurance is not for them. I watch people make 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 and then exit because that's all they needed because they were retired. And so many different things. It's what I've learned in this business is if you come into it, I want two things for you. I want you to find out if you want to be an entrepreneur, and I want you to be profitable in that process. And in 8 weeks, you should find out if this is for you or not. I do not want you here investing in leads, struggling for a long period of time. I want you to come in here and find out if this is for you, and then put a plan in place that helps you find the success level that you want. So when I sit with an agent and tell them that, that's my hope for them, right? Whether they do that or not, that's up to them. I can't control what they do, but at least I've learned that, hey, tell me what you want to get out of this and let's find out real quick because this is a real business. It's like any other business in America. Like the hamburger joint, you can go buy thousands of pounds of hamburger meat, and if you don't do it right, if you don't have the employees, if your hours are weird because you want to close at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, because right, like you want to be a mom and pop, like you'll go broke really fast. So it's not that we make people go broke. It's not that insurance makes people go broke. It's them, right? Especially when we can back it with, we have a system in place, we have a process, we have the connections, right? And either you follow that, find out if it's for you. If you want to stay in the struggle, that's completely up to you. I'll be the first one to say like, hey, this may not be for you. Let's look at something else. I
Yeah.
appreciate you being part of the team, but maybe this isn't for you. And hey, if they say no, I want to figure it out. I'm like, all right, let's dig in.
Yeah. Yeah. And what are some, so as you're building and you're learning how to lead, as you're doing it, like nobody's arrived as a leader, and building an agency is just this instantaneous, natural, organic process. Like you got to develop yourself as a person. And I think personal development is one of our core values and like keys to successful everything. It's kind of like the foundation. When you first started, were you like into personal development, like reading the books, plugging into stuff, listening to the audio trainings? Like, what did personal development look like at that point versus what does it look like now? Because my assumption is that was a big part of you going from a one-man producer to a team with however many couple hundred writers doing 7 million a year. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, don't put me on the spot like this. I mean, being an entrepreneur, no one's an entrepreneur without some type of self-development. For me back then was I had a mentor that I did a bunch of other businesses with. And
So
so,
somebody that was outside of Symmetry.
yeah, in my other businesses, right, I had car washes, car lots, and the donut shop and some of the other stuff we did. So I had a mentor, right? He was making millions. He was somebody I wanted to be, that again, the good old, would you swap bank accounts with him? Then that's a mentor. But if you wouldn't, don't take advice from them.
Yeah.
And so he was mentoring me, but we never read. I never did any of that stuff.
Yeah, me neither.
This industry's different. This industry is definitely a leadership, right? Versus on his side, it was a lot of business and money, mentorship. and right, get things out of your way and don't give me an excuse, make business happen. That was
Yeah.
great mentorship for that. But for this, no, this right, I never read. I hated reading. Now I make sure I read. So my first 2.5 years, right, was I was saying I was reading, but I was probably reading a couple of days a month. I'm not gonna lie, don't tell Chris Cook. Um, and
It's always when you're behind and he's like, "Hey, can you cover the book of the month on
right,
Monday?" I'm like, "Dang it, Chris, how'd you? I didn't even order the book yet, bro."
right, it's in the mail. And so I started, 2020 was just a turning point for me because I was
Yeah.
like, okay, there's too many people building around me. There's too many people, right? I was watching people go to millions in their organization. And I'm like, okay, I'm the problem, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not the people, it's me because there's other people doing it. And so I was like, all right, so I'm just going to take this really seriously. And when I say by that, like I was building and I was taking it seriously, but I really wasn't applying the leadership skills that I was learning. I wasn't applying the best way I can describe it is again, I wasn't taking it seriously, even though I was, right? 6 grand a
Yeah.
month is pretty serious,
I would say so.
right? But it was like, hey, it's gonna work. And I wasn't focused on it like I was on my production. And so I was like, nope, this year I'm not gonna spend thousands of dollars this year again and have nobody with me. So
Yeah.
I got very intentional that when I read a book, and so we read in our organization, right? They teach us to read 10 pages a day in the morning. I just got really intentional about, hey, if I'm going to read those 10 pages, I'm going to do two things with it. I'm going to get three things out of those 10 pages that I read, and then I'm going to go apply it to my life first and then my business. And
That's
when
good.
I did that, I know that sounds silly, but that's all I did. We went from that year, 2020, I think we did 350,000. The next year we did 1.5 million. The next year we did 2.75 million, and right, we have just doubled many times ever since. And again, it's literally your team's not going to grow to the level, or it's only going to grow to the level of leader that you are,
Yeah.
and your
Yeah.
income's going to come right behind it. So it wasn't until I actually got very intentional about that that everything started to change. And what I got really good at was putting the pressure on all the systems that we have, right? Versus me trying to say, I'm the leader, they have to follow me, I have to show them how to do this. It became a there's too many systems in place in our organization for me to be the all. And I
Yeah.
had to take myself away from that, right? And become a good traffic cop and be a good leader. And what a leader does is they don't make you do things, right? They show you how to do things or they show you where to go get it.
Yep.
And so I just
Yep.
got really good at that. And then and here's the cool part, when you get good at that, it also becomes easier to celebrate them doing it,
Mm.
right? Versus because you're so emotionally tied when you're trying to pull someone, you're so emotionally tied to their results. And when they don't get results, it's almost defeating for you and them, right? It's like man, I'm doing all this and so I must suck as a leader because they're not winning, or I'm doing all this and they're not listening, right? So it either creates frustration as a leader thinking that they're not following, or it becomes frustration of they're not doing enough.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you become a good traffic cop or a good leader of, hey, these are the resources, I'm here to show you how to do this versus do it for you or do it with you, it becomes amazing leadership. It really
Yeah.
does. It becomes fun at that part. And again, the biggest thing as a builder or anyone in leadership trying to lead leaders, it also takes the pressure off of you. That's what I've learned over everything. I no longer stress, and I still do, right? But I no longer have the pressure or stress of they're failing because of me.
Yeah, me neither. And I felt guilty of that when I was, it honestly scared me to hire War Market initially because
Right?
I hired agents, they would quit, they would, I don't know if they went into debt or what, but like they didn't make money. And I had it happen with people that I knew, and I put this pressure on myself, like, hey, I'm getting these results, you should too. Like, come on now, figure it out. But you said something at conference in Knoxville that I want to dig. I want to double click. You said stop training your people on the builders panel. Is that something that you found yourself doing a lot in the early days, where you were very hands on, taking responsibility for all of the training versus letting Symmetry and the company train your people?
Yeah, again, right? Like there, if you're looking to build an organization, first of all, in Symmetry, you don't have to figure anything out, right? The good
Yeah,
old figure it out or overcome. Like there's systems in place. There's an onboarding system, there's a training system, there's scripts, there's calls, there's all type of things. There's
there's
more than
boot
enough,
camps,
right?
there's
In fact,
powerhouses, there's
we're usually pulling people out of training. Like, hey, okay, you've done enough training. Now you got to go get to work. And so when look, it's a mistake we all make. You just got to identify it fast, right? When you start building, you fall in love with your first 5 or 6 people, right?
yeah, been there, done that.
And you want to grab them, and you're like, "Come on, let's do this," and you spend hours, right? And what I really mean by stop training them is the best training is you doing the work. Like you go do what you do, and let them watch, right? Versus sit there and train them. Because when you sit there and train them, one of the most common things that I'll hear a new builder tell me is like, "Well, I was on Zoom for 3 hours with this new age." I'm like, "Stop, like stop." Like what you need to do is you need to be dialing for 2 or 3 hours, and they can watch you do it. Now, whether they dial and you're inviting them to come dial with you, again, we can't force them to do it, but just be visible. Just do what you do that's getting you the results you want, and let them watch. There
And
is
be visible.
nothing better. And that way, that's what I mean by don't train them. Because when everyone starts building, they want to sit there and train somebody. I'm like, you don't need to
Yeah,
train anyone anything. Everything's already provided. Just let them watch you do it. And they only need to watch you 30, 40, 50 minutes, maybe an hour. After that, it's like
they got
watching
it.
somebody ride a bike and say, hey, I'm going to learn. Like, no, they got to get on the bike and learn how to balance and the feelings and, right? Like, they got to understand okay, this is completely different from watching. And so that's what I say, stop training people. You can
Yeah,
only train so much. Look, here's a reality. In insurance, it probably takes you about 6 hours of training to know how to do this. You got a
yeah,
script from someone, right? You learn how to dial. If you got a CRM, you know how to navigate it, right? And you decently know how to underwrite because you got logins to a carrier or something. That's it. Like that doesn't take more than 6 hours to learn. After that, it's you got to get on the bike. And so the biggest mistakes a lot of us builders will make at the beginning is we're trying to train our agents. Like they just got to watch you do it, and then they just got to do it. You got to be really good at applying healthy pressure of movement, because here's the thing: we can't train or we can't teach how to get better if there's no movement,
yeah. It's like trying to steer a parked car.
right?
You got to
And
have some
you got to
momentum.
have some movement so that you can point them in the right direction. Here's the crazy part. As a new agent, they read some information, they learn the script, or they learn the concept of mortgage protection or whatever, and then it creates a lot of questions. So the biggest mistake as a new agent and the builder, right, is they want to answer all these questions. And it's like, hey, I understand you have a lot of questions, but the only reason you have these questions is because you've now learned about the concept, right? Let's sit on that for a little bit. Let's start moving, start booking appointments, because the best way for me to teach you is helping you prep for appointments. There is no better underwriting teaching. There is no better recruiting teaching, right? Like they're like, hey, I want to recruit. Great. Go book some interviews, find some people, and then let's talk about how it went. Right? Then we can sit in the appointment with you. Then we can do all these things that'll help you get better and train you in those things. But you can't sit there and just train on nothing.
Yeah,
And so there's got to be movement, man. When both sides get really good at that, it's amazing how fast things move.
yeah. It's what you're talking about is like what we learn in Atomic Habits almost is or the Slight Edge is what it sounds like to me, because uh, I didn't come into this with the paralysis by analysis, like feeling like I needed to know everything before I started. But I know a lot of people do struggle with that. Like I feel like you got to be an expert on all the insurance products before you book your first appointment. And the truth is, you you're going to learn so much more in an hour long appointment, whether you close it or not, than you'll get in an hour reading underwriting guides. You know what I mean? Like you're going to learn it on the job. One thing I want to kind of talk about too is you've never stopped producing. You've built a big team. A lot of people struggle to do both. And when I came into this, I didn't realize the time commitment that building took. And so I treated production like my full-time job and recruiting like my side hustle or like my hobby almost. And I didn't realize that it's also kind of like a full-time job. And the temptation I got is when I first started making a little bit of money with building, I was using that to like pay my bills and didn't necessarily let my foot off the gas, so to speak, with the personal production, but I was mismanaging it. And so we talk a lot about filling two boxes. You got your building box and your production box. Joe, can you talk about what that looks like as like a focus if you're trying to do both? Because if you focus too much on one box and not enough on the other, you're not going to build a sustainable business that doubles year over year.
Yeah, I mean, right. That's the question of the insurance producer and builder life, right? How do you do both?
Yeah. What and also what are the boxes? What are the boxes? What's the target?
I mean, right, for it, we teach, right, 15 sits and 20 interviews a week. Um, Also find out what the box is for you, right? Like you got to make certain income, right? If some folks need to make less, I definitely was a 15 appointments so that I can make 20 grand a month box, right? Like I
Yeah.
needed that income. One, I was already making decent money and I wanted to recruit at a high level. So I wanted really big numbers. Some folks it may be a little bit less and that makes it easier, right? But what I would say is the 15, 20 boxes, just make sure that's what your focus is on, as in my production's going to be taken care of. But those make those your non-negotiables,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And then the rest is going to figure itself out. You can't compare yourself to everyone. Some folks like group interviews, some folks like individual interviews now that are out there. Um, some folks like a perfect schedule. I'm the chaos guy, right? Like I'm gonna hit my two boxes no matter what, right? And that's my GPS. I'm okay if I have it mapped out that construction's gonna happen and it's gonna veer me off and I'm gonna come back, but I know my destination and I'm just really good at by the end of the week, did I sit with my appointments and did I sit with my interviews, right? The rest will figure itself out. And the cool part is if you actually just focus on that, you'll figure out how you do that best. The thing is most folks won't give themselves enough time to figure that out, right? Week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are super hard. It's chaos and they don't give it enough time to figure it out what's going to work for them. I have in our organization we have folks that do it all different types of ways. Some have a perfect schedule and that's how they work it. Some folks do it in complete chaos. That's me. Some folks do it in between. Some folks produce in the beginning of the week. Some folks build at the end of the week. Some folks do group interviews. There's not an exact answer. The answer is those are the two boxes. Figure out what's going to work for you because so many things are going to change in the middle. What kind of recruiting platform you're on? How are you doing your interviews? Do you have systems in place, right? I've come from business. I always had staff. I've always had staff.
Yep.
I'm not going to do the things I don't want to do, right? And I'm always going to focus on the money making activity.
Yeah.
So I have made a ton of money in insurance, and it's because of that. I focus on the money making activity, and I'm not afraid to hire someone or fire someone, right? Like I'll put somebody in that position. I'll put somebody that helped me book in. I mean, dude, in our office at the beginning of recruiting, back in the day of Zip Recruiter and a non-automated system, right? Like I had spreadsheets of agents, and I had 3 dialers in my office. I had 3 people dialing all day booking interviews.
Wow.
And then those would be distributed into our organization that were already booked, right? Like I've never been, I've never tried to be the all. In fact, when I look at insurance, I'm looking at this as, do I have a real business plan in place? Like, what's not so much an exit strategy, but if I'm gone for a week or two or a month, like, does
Yeah.
the business continue to operate?
Mm.
Is there recruiting still happening? Is there production still working? Is right? Do we have employees that are making sure things are where they need to be? Right? Like, are calls happening? Are leaderboards going up? Like, I don't, dude. I probably here, I know everything about my business, but I don't know how some of it happens because I've put aces
Mm.
in places to make sure
Yep.
that that happens. So now I have people in place to where, right, again, we have Kristen in my organization. Like, my meetings are with her to say, hey, did this happen? And right, how can we maximize this? Because that puts me
Mm.
as a true CEO of the company,
Yeah.
right? Like
Shout
that,
out Kristen.
yeah, shout out Kristen, right? Like that allows me to actually analyze numbers like, hey, why is recruiting numbers down? Right? Because if I'm stuck in the middle of doing every single interview or talking to every single new agent, right? Before they even become an agent, like I'm so in the mix, I don't understand. I'm not able to analyze my business. So I
Mm.
put people in places to make sure I can truly run this like a business so that we can maximize the growth. So in fact, today a text message went out, right? Because I looked at our, and actually it went out last Monday. Here's how you know if you have if you're in a true CEO position of your business. So last week in my base shop, we only had 2 RTWs, right? And that's a problem in my business. Like, I want more. And
Yeah.
so text message went out Monday and Tuesday, like, hey, right, to aces and places. I'm not going deep. I have people in place that are in charge. And so I text messages go out. We're already at 5 RTWs for the week and more coming.
Mm. A
Right.
week, the next week.
Yeah,
The
days
next
later
week.
after a text
Yeah.
message, right? Because it's like I have people in charge of CRMs. I have people that are looking at our marketing. I have people that are looking at the results, right? Is everything working inside? Like, I don't know how Go High Level works, but let me tell you, we got experts in our organization that do, right? And that's when you talk about balance, like that's the only way, right? Like at a 130, right, at the top
Gotta
of the
have staff.
company, right? Like that's how I can still produce, right? Everyone thinks it's hard. Like, it's not hard if you have people in places and able to do
Yeah.
things, right? At this point, I have a dialer, right? I'm a
Shout
beast
out
on the phone.
Jimmy. I'm just kidding.
No, it's not Jimmy,
I'm
but
just kidding. Sorry, Jimmy.
but but right, like I have people in places. So guess what, dude? When you can automate your 2 boxes, talk about a fun place to make money,
That's when you're cooking.
right? Like, again, I just said, hey, I haven't wrote enough business. Somebody get on that. 9 appointments today, right? Like, I get to work on money making activities, right? I looked at our recruiting this week, dude. In my base shop, I think we had like 150 interviews,
In the
right?
base
Like,
shop in a
it's
week.
in a week, and it becomes so much fun when you treat this like a true business. And again, I'm not a fan of automation. I'm a fan of putting systems in place and having someone to do it for you, because it does two things in your organization. It's fun. Look, we have Kendra and we have Kristen right now in our organization, and it's fun to say they're going to go with us hopefully for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it gives them ownership, it gives them a future. I've owned businesses my entire life, and there is nothing more important for me to be able to say we're changing people's lives through our business. Because when we hire someone, for me, when we hire someone to our organization, and it's from an agent to a staff member, it's like, where do you want to get in life, and can my company help you get there,
Mm.
right?
I love that.
And giving people the opportunity to change their life inside of your business, like I truly care about that, right? Like, even at my car wash, right? Like, people just needed to make a paycheck, right? It was still somebody's dad, somebody's son that needed to pay the bills or buy some diapers or do right. Like, there's value in that for me.
Time.
And I challenge everyone, if you're a business owner, do you look at your staff, your agents, your team members that way? Right? Like, for me to be able to say we're changing Kristen's life, we're changing Kendra's life, we're changing all our agents' lives, right? Like, that's important to me. And when they truly understand that and you can communicate it in the best way, and again, I'm probably horrible still at communicating that, right? Like I got to be a better leader. But for me, that's what matters. And to the best of my ability, I try to let them understand that. And it gives them ownership. It gives them a challenge. And so, dude, when those text messages go out, it's almost like, oh, really? Really? So we didn't do well? And they're like, watch this, right? And that's what's cool inside of our organization right now. So
Yeah.
when you say find a balance, like, hey, find a balance and find a system because you can't do it by yourself. Okay. You can do it up to a certain level, but when you're trying to grow a true business, like we want to get to, look, the big goal is get to 1 billion, right? Like if Symmetry's going to 10 billion, I want to be 1 billion of it. I can be 10%. I'm not scared of 10%, right? First, we got to get to 20 million, right?
Yeah.
First, we got to get to 10 million. But you got to have systems in place because there's no way you can do that by yourself.
No shot.
And
Not
so,
even with AI. You
right?
can't.
Not yeah, AI ain't gonna do it for you, right?
Yeah,
Like
they ain't
someone's still
taking the
got
insurance agent's jobs.
And so that's what's fun for me. That's the balance and the challenge, and that's where, as an insurance agency, an entrepreneur, that's what's fun for me. We get to involve people's families. We get to involve systems. We get to stay angry at the results, and that's when the true balance comes. Again, right? It's never really a balance; it's a harmony. Like, can you come to peace as a business owner that it's hard, and can you make it fun to always be shooting for something and understand you're never going to achieve it, right? Because when we get to 10 million, it ain't going to be enough, right? But now new
Yeah.
systems, what it's going to take us to get to 10 million is not the same. It's not going to be the same that takes us to 20, and it ain't going to be the same that takes us to 60, right? And so falling in love with that balance of it's a struggle and can I figure it out? Because here's the thing, whenever I hear anyone saying like I can't figure it out, I can't overcome, my first question is, are you sure you want to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's like the definition of an entrepreneur. You got to figure it out and you got to overcome.
I love it. I love it. And what the beautiful part about our IMO and seeing the progression of other agencies over the years is we have the people have blazed the trail, like there are people more than one whose team's doing over 50 million a year in sales, multiple at the 20. There's a bunch at the 20 million level, tons at the 10 and the 5 to 10. And all you got to do is follow the system. And the system is simple. It's 2 boxes, and it's whoever can stick to those 2 boxes the longest wins. Are you getting 15 to 20 RTWs ready to write per month? And are you issuing, I don't know, 20, 30K a month on your own pen? I mean, at that level, you're tapping into the $500,000 a year type income a few years later, if you can stick to that. And then you can't forget the personal development, because Joe, if you were the same Joe in 2020 as you were today, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if your team would be doing the volume that it's doing.
No, I don't want that guy
You
back.
wouldn't be staffed up like you are right now. And it's cool to build something that is impacting families' lives who are like adjacent to Symmetry. You know what I mean? I love that. Any final thoughts, questions, bro? I feel like we've covered a lot from the early days as a new agent, figuring this thing out, stacking some wins to get consistent production and building day one and why you should build, the challenges and mistakes you made building, and then how to hit that with the 2 boxes. But anything else you'd want to add, bro? Any questions?
Let's play with some of these finish the sentence rapid fire right here.
Okay.
Let's do, I'll do this one for you, right? So I'll ask you this, right? Production is
A necessity. It's a necessity. Finish this one, Joe. Leadership is.
understanding you can always get better.
I like it. What about discipline? Discipline
I'm
is.
going to ask you that one.
All right.
You know how many people I refer to you, I refer to you when they're like, hey, how do I create a good schedule and make 20 grand? I'm like, hey, I'm the wrong guy to that. I'm chaos. I'm like, but you know what? Ask the golfer over there that writes and puts up 40 grand every single month, because I still can't figure that out. So finish this sentence. Discipline is.
I'm going to quote Jocko Willink. Discipline is freedom. Discipline is freedom.
Oh, that's so good. You know why? Because everyone's like, man, how do I find that work-life balance or the freedom in this? And dude, I love that. That's so good.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, other than that, I'm trying to think, any parting thoughts? No, this is one of those episodes that I'm going to go back and take notes on, because this is like, I broke out my notebook as you're talking, because I'm like, Joe's putting on a clinic right now.
I'm always taking notes.
Literally. And it just has me excited for conference too, because that's something that's coming up within the next 90 days and a lot of momentum leading up to it. And if you're going to make a change to positively impact your business, like staff up or start building, or you just want to come in with some cash flow glow, now it's time to hit it and get it. And so with
my closing thought on this, Elijah,
yeah,
would be everyone in insurance right now, and any entrepreneur can take this podcast, this recording today, and look, if you don't have a mentor, you need to have business talk every single week in your business. And this is a great one. I love that you go back and forth with this. This is my passion here. I love business talk. And go back and listen to this and have these business conversations, these questions, these answers that we've talked about, and analyze your business against it. And if you have a business partner or someone, right, that owns a business, send them this podcast, because this is great business talk. It's amazing of how you have a conversation like this, and then all of a sudden next week's way better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love it. If you got value out of this, send it to a friend. With that, we'll see you guys next Friday. Have a great weekend.
Later.